and have really picked up, recruited strongly and recruited really well in the January window. And probably the reflection in terms of the form recently shows what a good set of players they've got there. And probably shows they were probably underachieving for the first part of the season. So we know what to expect in terms of their settled system and their settled style at the moment. But they're coming to our home patch, and you've got to look forward to a game of this stature. It's a game which grabs your attention because Bradford are such a big team in this league. And their history and their reputation in terms of size of the club is second to none. It's a shame the fans can't be there because I know how well Bradford travel with their fans, and we always respond accordingly in terms of our home fans. So a slightly different atmosphere to what you'd usually expect to a home tie against Bradford, but one which we're expecting to be a high quality game.
You mentioned their recruitment there. One of those players is Danny Rowe, who we've already seen for Oldham this season at our place. I guess the message is don't give them a free kick about 35 yards out.
Well, it was probably about 40 yards out, but exactly that. He's done that consistently throughout his career. Full credit to him. He hits the ball pretty hard and pretty clean and pretty sweetly. And we all know that only too well in terms of the game early on in the season. But he's got other attributes just in that. And Bradford have got other threats just apart from Danny Rowe as well. So, like I say, lots of good players on show this weekend. We want to put in a good performance. Building another type of performance like we did on Tuesday night, which was gritty, determined, resolute at times, but still had enough about us in terms of attacking play to hurt the opposition. So we just got to make sure we pick a team which is fresh enough. I alluded to it previously on the previous interviews about how Jurgen Klopp was mentioning mental fatigue within his squad. And we see that on a daily basis within our group, especially with the amount of travelling and the restraints in relation to what we can and can't do at the moment. So we've got to freshen it up again this weekend. But whoever we put out on that pitch, we need a bit of energy and a bit of life. And to play like we're the home team. And like I say, hopefully it'll be a good reflection on two good teams with full of good players.
You look at Bradford's form, and it's perhaps strange that the informed side in the league are in the bottom half. But I think it just shows that before Tuesday's game, we were 4 points off the playoffs. And now with that win, we're 6 points off top. It's just so tight, isn't it?
Yeah, and look, people never believe when you say it, but we're not looking at league tables at the moment. We're just concentrating on our performances, trying to pick up as many points as we can. It's relentless in terms of the games are coming thick and fast. And as soon as one's gone, then it's on to the next. So as much as we enjoyed those 3 points on Tuesday night, the focus was immediately onto Bradford and finding out who's fit and who's able to play this weekend. And as soon as Bradford's done, then we turn to Barrow, and then after Barrow, it's Oldham. So it's always what's next. And like I say, Bradford's form's Bradford's form. We just want to concentrate on our own form. And like I say, that was a big 3 points for us on Tuesday. But we want to back that up with another 3 points, as simple as that, this weekend. And we'll do that by committing to what system works for us in our home games, and starting the game well and taking the game to them. You've mentioned some of their players already, but we're excited to see what our attacking players can show this weekend.
How is the team looking injury-wise? Obviously, we'll be out without Rory McArdle. How is he, and where are we at with Joel Randall at the moment?
So to start with Rory, look, he had 10 stitches in a horrendous gash, a horrendous wound, but hopefully no long-standing damage. Hopefully as soon as those stitches have dissolved and come out, then he'll be fit to play again. But he'll need a couple of weeks or a bit of time away from the game and away from the risk of injury in that area. And that was probably a scary moment for Rory and the team. But look, the fact that he was able to get treated that evening and came back to the hotel at 1-2 o'clock in the morning and was able to travel back with the team the following day was really pleasing, because he's such a big character within the group. So that was an important moment for us all. Joel Randall did a little bit of training yesterday, but hasn't reacted particularly well today. A bit of tightness and soreness within that hamstring. So it's such a shame we're trying to get him fit and get him back on that football pitch, but we can only do that when his body's right. He's a player which bases his game on running and running pretty fast at that, so he needs to be able to do that. So he needs to be totally confident in that hamstring, and so do ourselves as a group of staff. So we'll assess Joel over the next couple of days. Obviously Randall Williams is walking and working on the Alter G in relation to his stress fracture, and Sam Stubbs has got a little bit of fluid on his knee injury which he had in relation to the operation, so we're assessing where he's at. So not too bad. I was pleased Jake Taylor got through 90 minutes, his first 90 minutes since the start of January. So we're not in a bad position at all, but we're a little bit thin in relation to bits and pieces. But the fact that Robbie's joined us has certainly boosted the ranks, so to speak, and allowing us to play a slightly different system with pace still at the top end of the pitch.
You mentioned Robbie Wilmot there, a deadline day signing. Were you pleased with how January went for you?
Overall, look, we kept older players as much as we struggled to bring players in. I'll openly admit that, and missed out on certain personnel. We kept older some important players for us as well. And look, I think Sam Stubbs will prove to be a really good signing for the club. Yokel we know all about, and you know his personality, his character, but also his performances. And then to add Robbie was something which I've wanted to do for a little while now, and to add a bit of experience as much as execution, and as someone who can bring some speed back to the team and has got the delivery to match that as well. Plus, he's ready to go straight into it. You know, if he's not been playing at Newport, he's been training and ready for League Two football. So, but we were pleased with who we brought in. You always want to bring in more, but also we've got to be pleased with keeping certain personnel within our ranks for the rest of the season.
Quick word on Yokel, actually. We saw his interview when he returned to the club last week. His infectious enthusiasm, and spoke about how much he loves the club. I mean, do you see that from him in the dressing room as well? Is he the same with the team as he is with the fans and with us?
Yeah, look, he's full of life. Can't describe it any other way. Full of life, full of enthusiasm for the game and for success. A hungry young keeper who's, let's be honest, still finding his feet in men's football, but he's got to play at a top level. And if he gets a good grounding with ourselves, and look, let's be honest, one of the reasons we were so desperate to bring him back to the club is that if he doesn't, go straight back into Reading's first team at the start of next season, then it could be another option to bring him back, and someone who knows how we work and we're comfortable with. But he's infectious. That personality is infectious, and it rubs off certainly on the younger ones in and around him. He's only 19 years old, and when you've got a personality and character like that at such a young age, he's only going to develop that. He'll have highs and lows throughout his career, and probably after half an hour on Tuesday when he kicked a few balls poorly, he was thinking worst case scenario. But he had just had to reset at half time and understand what was needed second half, and he kept a clean sheet, and he keeps the ball out the back of the net. So we're pleased Yokel's come back into it. Johnny's obviously been a little bit unlucky, but he'll get another opportunity throughout this season.
You mentioned Yokel's kicking now. I think I'm not sure if you've seen it, but on social media after the game, he did say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I need to get better at my kicking," and it's quite refreshing to see, isn't it? A player that will be quite open about the improvement.
Yeah, look, we all make mistakes. From the outside, with the pressures, you feel you have to be perfect all the time. Nobody is that. We are human beings, and Yokel's certainly one of them. He's a young lad finding his way in the game, and he miskicked a couple, no problem. And the main thing for Yokel is don't let it affect the next one. And second half, he like I say, he was excellent, and I'm sure he'll be back to his normal self if he puts his boots on the right feet this weekend.
Finally, then, today is Time to Talk Day in collaboration with the Mind Mental Health Charity. Just want to end really, especially during the third lockdown. I think the message is clear there in the title, isn't it? It is time to talk and important to be open about your mental health.
Exactly that. Communication is everything. When we can't visibly see each other and spend time together socially, communication is absolutely key. And whether that's a phone call, an email, a message, keep talking to people, and certainly don't allow yourself to be not only stuck indoors but stuck not speaking to people, whether they're strangers or family members or friends. We've all got to support each other because we've said it time and time again, we're going through a difficult period, and what we're now lockdown number 3. They keep on coming, and they hurt even more, and maybe because it's January, February, these dark winter months are even more difficult to get through, and you can't go outside anyway because the weather's pretty bad. But in terms of our environment, we're so lucky to be able to be still doing something we love. But we hope those support networks are there for the wider world and the general public. And obviously our supporters are huge in relation to that. Such a social aspect coming to watch a game of football, and you forget about that. People work throughout the week or stay at home throughout the weekend, and then go out at the weekend and socialise before a game in the pub, meeting your mates and stood on the big bank or in the Flyby stand and so on and so forth. It's just a social aspect to people's lives, and to have that taken away is really difficult. And you add that on top of what's going on with the lockdown number 3 as well. It makes it all the more difficult. Hence why we need to support each other, and we'll do everything we can as a football club, but also a community club. And like I say, I'd really emphasise that if anyone needs to get in touch with anyone at the club, please do so.